it's really not that hard to tell what coded language is nowadays, because half the time it don't even be coded for real. It be slang, unless Durk was out here doing real deal bird calls. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Clock in. Black Gotta just walked in. Team Black Gotta stand up, man. Yo. Alright, we back with another video, and it's on the little Durk topic. I'm hearing his lawyer clap back, and we might have some good news coming soon about Durk. Let's tap in. Let's see what's going on.
Durk's team filed a huge reply in support of his motion to dismiss. Imagine the feds came to your house and arrested you for murder for hire, and they said you used coded language between a 2-year time period, and that's why you're charged with murder for hire. I'd be like, what? When did I do that? What coded language did I use? When was the coded language? At what time and place? That's what's going on here. I'm gonna read the full document. Hit subscribe. Let's go, boys. All right, first thing we got here: Defendant Durk Banks reply in support of his motion to dismiss for vagueness or in the alternative for a bill of particulars. The government's opposition was its opportunity to highlight specifics, either in the indictment itself or in discovery, that clarified its basic theory with respect to two things, and two things only: the alleged bounty, the pervasive yet vague at the direction of accusations, but it fails to do so. Instead, the opposition recites at great length details in the indictment that are irrelevant to the instant motion. It then states in conclusory fashion that the discovery fills in any missing pieces on essential elements without explaining how or laying a record for the court to decide whether that is true. The court should see through this smokescreen and decline to blindly take the government's word that the discovery puts Banks on constitutionally sufficient notice. Without the court's intervention, this vague indictment becomes a blank check that the government has written to itself, allowing Mr. Banks' prosecution on facts that were not presented to the grand jury, that would take him by surprise at trial, and that are continually shifting as government cooperators change their stories. Ooh. In my last Durk video, I explained how the government...
Hold on. Did I just hear loud? I mean, not hear, but yeah, I did hear, because he was reading it. But yeah, did they just say the witnesses are changing their story? Which I already seen was going to happen, because we seen a lot of stuff going on revolving around his situation. First off, one of Durk's alleged partners who came home, and Durk put that psych on him. Durk literally put that bag on him, put that bag in his life. You feel me? Saved him from whatever critical condition he could have been in on the outs without Durk. And then that dude allegedly went and told on him. You know, we still don't know to this day how accurate that snitching rumor was. Then on top of that, another person connected to the case ended up being exposed by his daddy. You know what I'm saying? By some stuff that they have nothing to do with what he was locked up for. It was just a whole lot going on that made it sort of look like, you know, they was just fishing. Cooperation was coming from all angles. Like, was niggas getting paid to tell? Like, when you see somebody daddy come out of nowhere and tell, and he ain't even in trouble, you know he got some money. Like, he had to get some money. Cause, bro, you telling on your son for free? About something he ain't even locked up for?
Basically said, you. We don't need to give you anything. We already gave you what you are asking for, and our indictment already gives you everything you need, and we're not legally obligated to give you anything. Durk's lawyers are coming back saying, hell nah, this shit's still too vague, and the judge gotta do something about it. Argument: the indictment's detailed treatment of other subject matters does not make up for its vagueness on the bounty and at the direction of allegations. It is important to clarify what Mr. Banks is and is not arguing in this motion. In his motion, Mr. Banks takes issue with only two deficiencies in the indictment. The first is that the indictment fails to allege the essential facts with the reasonable particularity of time, place, and circumstances related to the alleged bounty. That is an element of murder for hire charge. And this is what the indictment says. It alleges only that at some point nearly 2-year time frame between November 6, 2020 and August 22, 2022, Banks made clear and coded language to Defendant Wilson and co-conspirators 2, 4, and 5 and others. They would pay a bounty or monetary reward, and or pay money and lucrative music opportunities to anyone who took part in killing TB. So that's all they know, is what the defense is saying. That's all they got. They don't know any specifics of the coded language, apparently. The second, it fails to allege the essential facts about the directions that Mr. Banks is alleged to have given in furtherance of the counts 3 and 5. Directions that are his only alleged link to crimes carried out by others and his absence. Mr. Banks argues vagueness on these two topics only. Mr. Banks does not argue that the indictment is fatally vague in any other way. For example, with respect to motive for TB's murder, the date, time, circumstances of the stalking, gun possession, or murder of SR, what facility in interstate commerce was used, or the overt acts necessary to support a conspiracy charge. So that's everything he's not arguing right there, highlighted. Yet the government wants the court to find that the inclusion of details on these other matters renders this indictment valid across the board. Its opposition's introduction cites the indictment's robust allegations about the motive for the murder, details about how the defendants stalked the murder victims' vehicles for hours leading up to the killing, including photographs, and details about each defendant's role in the murder plot. No mention of the robustness of the bounty or at the direction of allegations. Over the next 4 pages, it regurgitates all of the indictment's allegations, including those that do not matter here, in great detail. Of course, the government can cite to no robust allegation, let alone a bare bones time, place, or circumstance about the bounty offer/acceptance, or the directions that Mr. Banks alleged to have given to his purported co-conspirators. The reason for that omission is simple. The indictment contains none. So Durk's lawyers just want the specifics about the bounty and the at the direction of allegations against Durk. I don't know how they don't have this coded language situation. What coded language? Like, did he say a sentence to people out loud and it's just people snitching on this? Or is it, like, I have so many questions. Government.
Okay, let's get this straight, right? So you telling me Durk is locked up, and one of the main factors of him being locked up is the fact that they believe he was using coded language. I mean, it's really not that hard to tell what coded language is nowadays, because half the time it don't even be coded for real. It be slang, unless Durk was out here doing real deal bird calls. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Unless he was out here real deal doing abnormal bird calls and bodies was dropping, that'll make a whole lot of sense. But if he was speaking how most people speak in their music, it's ridiculous. And on top of that, Durk is not, fighting against some of the stuff, which is the fact that he is the breadwinner. He is the one making it, able for them boys to be able to get on private jets, for them boys to be having blicks all on them and stuff like that. He's not denying none of that stuff. So, but what he is denying is the fact that he literally paid somebody to do something to somebody else, which is the crime he's actually fighting. And yeah, man, the case is falling apart before it even started, for real, for real.
I was going to argue that these details about matters other than the bounty and at direction of allegations are all that are necessary to pass constitutional muster. Here, the SSI includes the elements of the offenses, the date, place of the murder, motive, the participants, and the actions they take leading up to and including the murder. There's no missing factual allegation that precludes the finding of criminality. And later argues that it is enough that SSI names with the particularity the date and place of the murder, the participants and motive, and 27 overt acts describing the actions leading up to the murder, as well as the murder itself. Here's what Durk's lawyers say. The indictment could contain 1,000 alleged overt acts, but it is missing any essential facts giving rise to the charges. It fails nonetheless. Here's an important sentence. Just like it names the date and place of the murder, it should name the date and place of the bounty offer. Oh my god, have I been saying state? I'm going to say government, bro. I get that confused all the time because I'm thinking about the Melly case. The government's going to respond saying they don't need to give them anything about the bounty, apparently. Which is kind of crazy because it's murder for hire, but the government's focus on non-pertinent details is a distraction. The presence of these details does not make up for the indictment's failure to provide reasonable particularity of time, place, and circumstances. Where it matters on the alleged bounty offer, that is an essential element of the murder for hire charges. I would say, you're charged with murder for hire, but you don't know the alleged bounty you did. How you communicated it to everyone around you. Was it by phone? Did they have a wiretap? Like, what do they have? What's the coded language? And on the directions that are the only alleged link between Mr. Banks and the other charged crimes, as to the two critical subject matters, the indictment is void of the reasonable particularity of time, place, and circumstances. Mr. Banks seeks only what he is entitled to under the law, the government's central theories of prosecution. Even the government has to admit a defendant is entitled to know the time, place, and circumstances of a transaction given the rise to the charge. But the government nonetheless argues that the indictment here suffices because the information the defendant requests, the specific language the defendant used in ordering a bounty and directing his co-conspirators, are not operative or central facts to the case. What? So they're saying the coded languages are not operative or central facts to the case? I don't even remember reading that part, but that's so stupid. Here's the quote of what the government said. The information sought by defendant, the words he used in offering reward to the killers of his rival or in giving directions to others are not elements of the offense. The bounty offer is, however, a necessary transaction given to a murder for hire charge. And because Mr. Banks did not himself stalk anybody, shoot anybody, or possess a gun in furtherance of that stalking, that means the means and manner of his alleged remote participation are essential to the case against him on counts 3, 4, and 5. Those directions are in fact the only transactions giving rise to those charges as it relates to Mr. Banks. Banks is entitled to know the government's essential theory, the who, what, where, when, and how on these essential points. I would imagine, if someone charged you with murder for hire and you didn't know what they're alleging you said to anyone yet, and you've been in jail for how long? How long has Durk been in jail, bro? Like 10 months or something? I don't even remember when he got arrested. It's been a while though. The government obscures things when it argues what the words used themselves are not essential elements of the offense. Consider a charge that we more commonly see in federal court, wire fraud. Oh, here we go. This is what they're comparing it to other charges. This is smart. Imagine an indictment that alleges the following. At some point between November 2020 and August of 2022, the defendant made material misrepresentations about investment opportunities to Wilson and others in order to cause them to part with certain valuable possessions and or money. It would be a reasonable dispute that this language fails to put the defendant on notice of the charges against him. It does not enable him to prepare his defense to assert that he never made the statements at issue, that they were not false, that they were not material, or that they were not designed to cause victims to part with money or property, among many other potential defenses. It does not protect against the double jeopardy, and a subsequent prosecution the government could argue that these other statements form the basis for the new wired fraud charge. What is more, it obliterates the important function of the grand jury and permits the government to shift its theory as the case progresses. They don't even know what they showed the grand jury. That's kind of crazy, because the grand jury clearly saw all this. A bounty offer is an essential to a murder for hire charge as a material misrepresentation is to a wired fraud charge. And where Mr. Banks' alleged directions to his alleged co-conspirators are the only thing tying him to the counts 3 through 5, the circumstances of those directions are essential to his prosecution as well. To be clear, Mr. Banks is not requesting the details of the evidence. The government will present at trial. The specific documents, text messages, emails, cell site location information, or recordings the government will introduce, or the names of the government witnesses who will testify in support of the government's theory of the case. Banks is only requesting the government's basic theory, without which he cannot adequately prepare for trial. By the way, example, let's consider Mr. Banks' request for the particulars of the coded language. He's alleged to have used to offer the bounty for TB's murder. The issue of so-called coded language will loom large at this trial, with the government arguing that the jury should assign certain meanings to facially ambiguous language, and the defense contesting those interpretations. Let's imagine that Mr. Banks is kept in the dark before trial about what coded language he allegedly used to offer the bounty. Then at trial, a government witness testifies that Mr. Banks told him the eagle has landed. Alright, this is funny as shit. They're like, let's imagine what happens here. We don't go.
Nah, bro. Y'all really writing like this? Y'all really writing jokes inside of somebody's real situation that could potentially get him life? Y'all playing with this man like this? The eagle has landed.
Going this trial not knowing the coded language. And in certain neighborhoods in Chicago, the eagle has landed means that the speaker is offering a bounty for murder. Having heard these words and this interpretation for the first time at trial, the defense would be unprepared to effectively cross-examine the witness about the meaning of those words. The government even intends to call an expert who will testify in support of its interpretations of various terms such as get back and slide. Ooh, of course there's going to be a gang expert to break down all the random gang terms and shit. We've seen this in literally every trial with rappers. The YSL trial, the Melly trial, XXX trial. The list goes on. Young Dolph. The defense will have done no research, conducted no investigation, lined up no witness to rebut that interpretation as a definition of trial by surprise, and it is a primary danger posed by a vague indictment. Same goes for the other information Mr. Banks requests and bill of particulars, including the date and location of the alleged bounty offer. The indictment lists no location of the alleged offer and alleges a nearly 2-year time frame in which the bounty offer could have occurred. If the defense hears for the first time at trial that the bounty offer was conveyed, for example, in a coffee shop in Chicago on January 5th, 2021, it will be scrambling to figure out whether Mr. Banks was even in Chicago January 2021. There may be a witness who would testify that Mr. Banks was actually in Atlanta at the time, but defense would have been deprived the opportunity to locate and call that witness. The Sixth Amendment guarantees Mr. Banks and all persons charged with the crimes more notice than that. No matter what you think Durk did it, you think he told his boys to go slide for Vaughn and go kill Quando Rondo, if you think he did it, I find it mind-blowing that the defense doesn't know what is going on. They don't know the code of language. They don't know when the bounty was ever offered. Bald assertions that the discovery fills in the blanks are not enough. The government asks the court to find that discovery it has produced eliminates all doubt the defendants are able to understand the theory of the government's case, yet it lays no record that would allow for such a finding. It only alleges that discovery is voluminous, that with each production the government also provided a detailed index listing discovery being produced. If that doubt eliminating discovery existed, the government would have certainly cited it in its opposition, yet it does not. Indeed, nowhere does discovery set forth anything resembling a fixed or coherent theory of time, place, and circumstance of the bounty allegations or at the direction of allegations. Ooh, here we go about snitches. Listen up. On the contrary, the government reveals government witnesses who are constantly changing their stories. PW1, for example, has asserted that there was no bounty at all, that he did not agree to murder TB for monetary gain, and that he did so under duress. But as one might expect in a murder for hire prosecution predicated on the existence of a bounty, he rises to meet the occasion. In one government proffer session, PW1 recounts how Mr. Wilson allegedly stayed behind in LA after the other participants flew out in order to collect the bounty money for the distribution. PW1's story is, however, flatly contradicted by the objective evidence. The government's realization that PW1 lied here is likely why, between the first superseding indictment and the second, it deleted all language alleging that Mr. Wilson paid out the bounty after SR's homicide. Ooh. So Durk's lawyers are saying PW1, whoever this snitch is, changed their story and said Wilson paid them after in LA, but then in the second indictment that was taken out or something. So that's fucking crazy. When the government's witnesses are constantly changing their stories about crucial facts, as the discovery catalogs here, Mr. Banks' defense must take aim at moving target. That is fundamentally unfair. The court should fashion a remedy that moors the government to its grand jury presentation. The government should be clear, with Mr. Banks and with the court, about its theory of prosecution. Which iteration of witnesses' ever-changing story will it stand behind at trial? Importantly, the government is not free to simply pick its favorite version. If the government told the grand jury that Mr. Banks' coded bounty offer was the statement that the Eagle has landed, made in Chicago coffee shop January 21, and that grand jury indicted Mr. Banks based on that theory, then the government may not switch it up simply because its witnesses' stories become more convincing over time. Under case law, when an indictment is vague as this one, it is defective and must be dismissed. This shit ain't getting dismissed, but I still think the defense has a right to know what's going on. I know I'm just a dumb ginger kid, I'm not a lawyer, but this is kind of fucked up. I mean, if you're charged with murder for hire, you should know what you did. If the court does not in lieu of dismissal and other bill of particulars, it should take steps to ensure the bill of particulars reflect the essential facts that form the basis for the grand jury's decision. Namely, the court should conduct an in-camera review of the grand jury transcripts to ensure the government's bill of particulars reflect them faithfully, both in its bill of particulars down the road. The government is not permitted to prosecute Mr. Banks on allegations other than those presented to and approved by the grand jury. The Constitution does not permit the government or its cooperators eager to say what they must try and save their own skins to fill in the gaps. Request this court to dismiss the indictment against them as unconstitutionally vague. Or let's get these fucking transcripts from the grand jury. I mean, I'm sure the government has some evidence. They have to have something. They just haven't shown it to the defense because they apparently don't have to by law, but it's trial by surprise. They're trying to wait as long as possible to give it to the defense. That's what they're doing. I think this trial starts in January. I think that's what it's set at right now, but I doubt that happens.
All right, so what we're hearing right now, it sounds beautiful for Durk, right? It sounds like, bro, they got nothing. You know, they're using little vague details on why they actually charged Durk, and him using stuff like bird calls and him having a bunch of people that was with him ready to tell. It's gonna be so shocking when we find out who PW1 is and who all the other people is who's allegedly telling. It's gonna be real shocking because, bro, this'll really make you feel some type of way, fam. You really looking out for folks like crazy, and comes to find out they could be potentially, you know, saying things that could incriminate you, whether it's true or not. Sometimes it could be false just to save their own ass. But at the end of the day, sometimes these people could be mixing these boys' words up. These boys could probably not even be saying what they saying that they saying, but still say that they said it, even though they ain't say it. If you got what I just said, you got it. You're very intelligent. But yeah, man, we gonna find out what happens. I doubt that these boys who are telling, though, it's gonna actually go all the way through with it, but I could be wrong. And you know, we just gonna see what the government has to offer Durk, because I believe, Cuff Boy, like, they not gonna put charges on you for no reason. And we all see that the stuff that they got is very minimal, right? So obviously they got something up under their sleeve that they will pull out, and we're gonna be shocked when we see it. It's probably gonna be some type of quote unquote undeniable evidence that they got against Durk, and he probably said the Eagle has landed for real. Ain't no telling what bro said. You feel me? The O has landed. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about this in the comment section below. I'm gonna get with y'all next video.